leaving this way. I've got nothing but love for you.
Who doesn't love Fleetwood Mac?
I love that. I completely forgot about that song. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was singing it on my Instagram story, and I said I wouldn't. I promised everyone I wouldn't sing, but I lied. So
It's okay. It's Monday. Is it a holiday everywhere in the world, or is it just here?
I
Or
think
is it
it's
just in North America.
well, North America. So I actually, like you, I got up thinking, why isn't there a holiday? Shouldn't we be sleeping or something?
Well, who actually looks? So that's the irony of it all, right? Like I look at people who are entrepreneurs and they don't recognize holidays because we just continue to work. It's kind of like us. We're working on Saturday. And then you look at people who are retired and they don't even notice Saturdays and Sundays because all their days just blend together.
Right.
So it's a holiday, but that's okay.
Yeah. So I don't even know if anyone's going to show up because they're probably trying to get their stuff ready for their kids. But, yours goes back this week, right?
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah. Mine doesn't go back till next week because we're a week delayed.
Right.
So that's really nothing. I was hoping it was going to be the Amazon Day sale, but it isn't.
That's coming soon. But you know what? It's a great day to talk about this topic because it is Labor Day.
Yeah.
Talking about people you work with and potentially who you could have as clients.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people think they know their audience and who they're talking to, but they don't, right?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is when you say to somebody, because everybody wants to give and everybody wants to refer. So if I say to you, who's your client? How can I help you? Who are you looking to work with? And the answer is everybody.
Yeah, I can help anybody.
My services can help anybody. My products can work with, doesn't matter, young, old, male, female, pick your gender, pick your age. No.
And we talked about target audience and avatars in the past, but we were talking in a little bit more of a silo and understanding, that's when you're trying to produce a program or something.
Yeah.
But, you have to think about your audience in the whole. So if, for example, you have been asked to do a speech, or if you've been asked to go to a networking group, or you've been asked to come on a virtual summit, I mean, you might know your audience, but do you know the audience you're speaking to? Because the problem becomes, you might be like, absolutely, here's my avatar. It's Sally, and she's, 40 years old, and she started her business 3 years ago, and she's you can say all of that. But if all of a sudden you're asked to speak because of your expertise at some event, and then you walk in and they're male dominated in their 20s, right? It's a different audience, right?
Sally's not there.
No. So you really need to do number one before understanding anything. Whatever you do, whether it's your own business, your customers, or where you're going to speak, you need to do your research. I mean, it's that simple.
Absolutely. And who are they getting if it's an event? Who are they getting as people who are participating? And I also think, even if it's a situation where maybe you're going to go for it anyway, maybe it's not necessarily specifically your audience, you're still going to go for it. You still need to know who's in the room.
Yeah, you need to, and then you need to tailor your speech to them. So before whenever I accept speaking events, the first question I ask when they're asking me to speak is, who's your audience? Like, who are you expecting? If they can't answer it, I get a little scared because that means they don't know their audience. But you have to know, right? You have to have some understanding so that you can still do what you're doing, but you need to tailor it a little bit. So if you know in advance, it helps you. I always ask, are they new? Are they new to business? Are they already have a business? Are they trying to scale their business? Those are very different conversations with somebody when I'm speaking on stage. So like you, if you're at a podcasting event, who are you in the newbie group? Like, are these people who are just thinking about podcasts, or are they people that want to, get better at it and understand their messaging and get higher in the rankings? Very different crowd.
Very different crowd. Yeah. And there's different, even when you're talking about different communities and different groups, I find, I needed to ask a question, but I needed to so I went to the group, but I also needed to know the type of people that were in the group because my question was phrased differently.
Right.
From a newbie perspective, from somebody who was also, maybe a podcast producer who were, veteran, podcast listeners. So
Right.
understanding who you're talking to is just so important.
Yeah. And so I mean, you have to, at least if you're going somewhere else, do the research as you're looking internally who your customer is, because again, a lot of people will say, oh, well, I do coaching, or I sell programs, or I do, I have a bricks and mortar business, but it's all different ages. Everyone always says that, all different ages. Well, there is some commonality into it, right? So you need to really understand that, and a number of ways, right? You can obviously, you can do the online stuff, which is understanding who comes to your site, your website, right? So you're going to look at Google Analytics. You're going to look at, if you're doing Facebook ads, they give you a lot of information about language and spending and demographics, where they're from, where their time zone is. They can give you all of that information, which is very cool. And then for you yourself, if you want to know, more about your clients that you have, it's really simple. It's like, do a little spreadsheet and say, who are my existing clients? Let me write down, like, do they have a common theme? Are they all motivated by something? Do they all have the same needs? Do they all have the same pain points? Do they all have the same goals? And start tracking and saying, who have I already worked with? Who am I attracting? Instead of you thinking about who you want to attract, figure out who you are attracting already, right?
Start where you are. Well, it's interesting because I found when I first had this conversation, like way back when because I talk about this with everything, who's your client, who you're writing it for, who, start with the who. But as soon as people start to do that, they start to go, well, wait a minute, aren't I saying no to other people? So if I position, I'll just go the male, female route or whatever gender. If I position my website as an example for female clients, because that's who I'm getting, that's who I'm attracting, but maybe that's not exactly who you want to work with. Maybe you do want to attract a different, demographic. They think, well, I've got this website and it's very maybe feminine looking. Am I saying no to all the male clients? So that's, I think, where a lot of people get really confused.
Well, I think, there's two sides to that. One is, are you willing to walk away from the clients you're attracting? Right? Because the truth is, they are coming to you specifically because of how you're presenting your brand. Right. So if you don't have a lot of clients and that you would rather reach out to a different subset of clients, then I would say yes. But here's the best way to do that. I would do it with landing pages. If say you're selling a coaching program and it's about goal setting, because that's very generic, right? Goal setting. So I would do 2 landing pages, right? And I would do one that's go towards women and the other towards men. And then I would do 2 little like silly ads, like Facebook ads for $2 or $3, and see who comes. Why do you do Facebook ads? Because it's going to track for you, or Google ads, whichever. It's going to track the demographics of the people that are coming. And then you can see who's going to your pages and who's actually clicking and purchasing it. Or even if it's an opt-in, it doesn't have to be a full program. It can just be an opt-in, but then you'll gauge a little bit better, rather than saying, I'm just going to change everything and hope it works, because that's, throwing spaghetti on the wall, right?
The wall, hoping something will stick. Well, it's interesting when I do, because I've helped some clients in the past with Facebook ads. So it's been really interesting. So typically, when they say everybody, all men, all women, and all ages. So literally, they're, sometimes we do it just by geography, radius around a certain area. But it's been really interesting because I'm like, okay, here you want like 18 to 65. Well, the way that you talk to an 18, 20, even 30-year-old is very different than you talk to a 50 or 60-year-old person. So you do the ad, but then you realize that, the person who's actually clicking on the ad is like between 40 and 50.
Right.
And then when you kind of mention that, they go, oh, wait a minute. Actually, that's who we're trying to target. Right. Well, great. Then don't spend your money on the 18 to 30-year-olds or the 65-year-olds.
And that's why absolutely you should do a Facebook ad, even a little cheesy one that doesn't cost you much, just to understand your demographics. So, because people, as soon as you say advertising, or as soon as you say, Google ads or Facebook ads, even Google Analytics, which is free. So understand that. But once you say that, people are like, oh, well, I can't afford it. Well, you can. $1 or $2 a day will actually give you demographics, believe it or not, or just throw in like $50 for a day or two, and that'll give you all the demographics you need initially to see, who your audience is. But I think, that's number one. It's like, you need to understand who's clicking on your stuff, right? Who is it? What are their habits? What are they following? You get all that information from doing a couple of ads. And then, so that's one way of doing it. Now there's people here in our audience that are too scared to do that, right? Because I think we know most of you guys in the audience, and you're too scared to even do Facebook ads, right? So
it's interesting when you think about that though, right? Because when you do a Facebook ad, you're putting it out to people that don't know you.
Right.
And a lot of times, unless you just do people who like your page or friends, or, friends of friends or something like that, maybe you feel like it's a warm target. But typically a Facebook ad can reach a demographic that doesn't know you. So that's where you really do start to understand why they're clicking on it. And then, but I think another thing happens, because you kind of go, well, do you want a client who's 20 years old? No offense, they're a great demographic for some people, but do you want to work with them? I know a lot of it's really interesting when I see, I don't know, like realtors or mortgage brokers, and they'll say, I want to work with new home buyers.
Right.
I've a couple of people that I know who want to work because it's fun. They're new. They want to work with new home buyers. They make a certain amount of money. So they really drill down. But then you look at their marketing and their social media, and they're putting posts out about like $7 million homes and huge kitchens, and, just out of a price point that maybe they won't be able to afford. So, if you want to work with them, understand them.
And like, do they actually have those clients? Do they have those new home buyers, or that's what they say they want to work with, but actually they're all resellers or they're listings that are not, it's exactly opposite. So have they really looked at their information to say, who's buying my stuff? Who's spending their time with me, and what can I do? Right. So an easy way to do it for everyone on Facebook is simply ask the question on Facebook, right? Find out, like, if you're, let's take the real estate. If you have 500 friends, just say who on this, in my group is a first-time home buyer. Just curious. See if there's people in your group or in your Facebook following that actually is your demographic. Because, in mine, I have a lot of friends and because I am one of those people who just allow everybody into my Facebook feeds. And so I know that most people that I don't know are interested in my business and what I do. So generally speaking, most people are, have some knowledge of what I do. But for some of you, you might not even know, right? So you have to go into your groups or go into your followings and start looking at what they're posting, the comments, right? Start looking at their comments, their engagement, what's going on with that. So you actually know if in fact your group or your target is something that is right for your business, or you have to go, okay, this isn't working. So I need to switch something. What am I doing wrong? Because I'm not attracting the right group.
Right. And so I think we also need to start to learn about the demographic we do want to. A lot of people go, you know what, I want to work with somebody like myself. Yeah. That seems to be a common. I'm not sure I would want to work with me. But
I wouldn't want to work with you, but I do.
But I know people who say that. They're like, similar age, similar gender, similar lifestyle. Maybe they're also parents. So you start to kind of attract that thing. But if it's something like something the complete opposite, whether it's a new home buyer or whether it's maybe I'd rather work with men because I like their quickness in regards to making decisions, or maybe their business structure, whatever the case may be. If you want to work with males, you also need to understand what they want.
Right.
Because it's not you, the new home buyer. Well, that's not me. So if I was a realtor or mortgage broker, I would need to get into sort of the psyche of that 20 to 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Where are they? What kind of things do they say? How do they talk? Where do they hang out?
Right. The
Business
hangout piece is key. Where do they hang
so
out?
key.
Because you need to know, because if you know what groups they hang out, you can target those groups, right? If you know what competitors they use, you can actually target those competitors if you want to do ads and get into it. And I think competitor, I mean, that's a big one. I think everyone kind of ignores because they go, oh yeah, there's lots of people that do this. This is the guy that does the most. Okay, well, why does he do the most business, right? What is it? So take a look at his website. What is the phrasing he uses? What does he offer? How is that connection? Does that make sense to the audience that he's talking to? Because copywriting and phrasing are huge when you see the difference in positioning. So if you think I want to have his customers, then okay, if he's successful, he's phrased well. So you want to go and see what's the comparable between how you phrase something and the successful person phrases something, and then you should start emulating that and using it, right?
Absolutely.
But there's nothing worse than, again, though, emulating somebody and then that's not really who your audience is. Like if you're targeting, there's one way, but switching directions in midstream, if you already have a business and you're doing well, then don't change everything. If you want to add a layer, again, go the route where you can find alternative ways to go after them, which is ads and landing pages and stuff. But don't change your whole makeup if you're already have a business, because you might lose those customers.
Well, and that's sort of the way of it, right? Like the pros and cons. So if you do want to completely rebrand, which people do, and there's nothing wrong with that, you do need to understand that there are going to be people that will no longer resonate.
Right.
And I think you also have to have some sort of interest in the type of person you want to work with and really understand, what kind of person that you want to bring into being a client of yours, but also understanding when we say the where. So I think one of my biggest challenges is, I talk to somebody and they go, oh, but LinkedIn really works. I've heard, this person needs LinkedIn and everyone says they need LinkedIn and blah, 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 blah. And then I go, well, who's your audience?
Yeah.
Right. And they tell me and I go, you know what? Like have a profile 100%, but maybe not spend all your time there because of your demographic and the age and whatever the case may be, Instagram's probably a better play, or maybe Pinterest is where you should be hanging out the most. So you don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to be on every social media platform, but and then people start just thinking, oh my God, I have to post here and I have to post there and I have to post here and I have to do all this stuff. And they wonder why it's not working.
Yeah. And I think, so to be, very transparent, we do post on everything, Stacey and I, but we do it because we can. It's easier for us. But do we get the same engagement on any social media? No. We have very different engagements on different platforms. So here's the beauty of if you just do an experiment and for 2 weeks you post on all the different platforms, they all have analytics. So take a look at where your engagement is coming from. If all your engagement is coming from Instagram, then that's where you would spend money for an ad. If it's actually coming from LinkedIn, then do the LinkedIn strategies. You can do direct messaging or place ads there. But, if you really don't know, or if you just say, for example, LinkedIn, most people don't go to first because it's a little more intimidating than most.
True.
And so, but here's the thing, maybe that's actually your platform.
Yeah.
Right. And if you've never posted, you don't know who your audience truly is. Just because you're comfortable on Facebook, it doesn't mean your audience is on Facebook, right?
That is key right there. That's the part that people get sucked into because they choose their platform based on what they like. And I like Facebook. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy seeing my friends' vacation shots and their baby photos and whatever their summer vacation happened to be. But for business, it's not where I get my business.
No.
But now we look at, for you, did you go and put a video like this morning of you singing? Nobody's been on Instagram. It's only there for 24 hours. So if you're watching this tomorrow, you may not see it.
No.
But you chose to do that video on Instagram story. So that was a decision. Did you put that video, which you have on your phone? Did you put the video on LinkedIn? No. Did it go over on Twitter? No. Right? You made a decision based on the platform that you're going to get the most engagement on.
Yeah, I'm never gonna send. I'm never gonna put that to show up on LinkedIn because
Right.
it
Doesn't make
there's
sense.
a bad connection. The people that are on Instagram that like it still are potentially my customers, right? But they see a different side. Same information that we produce for every different social media, but we present it differently, a little differently, right? So
And that's based on understanding your audience, but also
yeah,
understanding where your audience is hanging out and understanding the language.
right.
So
And the stories thing is a big thing, right? Like because I think people don't understand what you're posting on your feed and on your story. We've talked about it before, but so different. So
yeah.
you're going to get a different people who look at the feeds are the different people than look at stories. Completely different people, right?
It's true. So the strategy is different, but also understanding, the people I find on Twitter, they want quick,
Yeah.
quick little snippets of information. So the way that you present that, but maybe the people who are on Twitter, because they're consuming small bites of information, you also have to translate that to the way that you talk. You have to translate that into how you speak on your landing page, how you're speaking in your videos, so it's really trying to understand really what makes them tick.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, again, it's about them. So you can say all you want. We know that you guys who come see us, we know you come here on Mondays to learn business tricks and to understand a little bit of a deep dive on all different avenues that you can bring your business forward, get more successful, get more profitable. So we know that. So what we're telling you are things that we use, that we've done. We know our audience, right? Yeah. We're not going to talk about something that isn't going to help your business because that's not the point of this group.
Like if you went, because you're very knowledgeable in a lot of different segments of life, you've said many times that you've done feng shui training.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
I have my master designation. I still do it for my friends and that. Do I offer it out? No. Do I know it incredibly well? But would I sit here and do a training in this group? No.
But somewhere else. But if you wanted to expand on that, then you would again understand more of the person that's interested in that. So I think that's, we kind of talked about how to master the understanding of your audience, not just understanding them, but understand how to communicate.
And those are the tricks that we're telling you, right? So those are the things, survey your existing client base, do a spreadsheet on who they are right now and the similarities they have in between them. Google Analytics, Facebook ads, there's so many things. All the free analytics on every channel. So you can go to Instagram, Pinterest, they all have analytics. So dig a little bit deeper. Not scary. Don't worry, because here's the thing. If you click on the analytics button, nothing blows up. Right?
But it's so fascinating because information is power.
Yeah.
So if you have the information, so it can go two ways. Number one, you can see that the person who is opening and engaging with your social media is in fact the type of person that you want to work with.
Right.
And your business is successful. You're attracting the right clients. Awesome. That is awesome. So we're good. The second way it can go is that you click on it and you go, oh, I'm attracting, 20-year-olds when actually I'd rather be attracting 40 to 50-year-olds.
Right.
Maybe I'm talking too young, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Then you can make that adjustment, but you can't make the adjustment until you know the information of who's actually engaging with your stuff and who you want to work with.
Yeah, and I think
everybody.
And I think a lot of it, so understanding both your existing audience, what the audience you're looking for, and understanding the audience you have, all come into play, right? Because if I was a marketer and you came to me and said, "Oh, I need some help," I would look at your statistics, right? And I would say, "Okay, well, this is what you're getting." So remember, if you do that, they're going to say, "Okay, this is who you're getting." So I would, cater more to them and change things, but you have to decide if that's who you want in the first place, right? So, you never know. Sometimes you're surprised if you haven't really looked. I'm very rarely surprised at who is interested in working with me, but occasionally I am. Sometimes I just kind of go, really? like me, because I think, for me, and I think Stacy's the same, we're pretty straightforward. We're not, we want people that do the work, aren't afraid to, are down to business. They know what they want to move forward. And that's who we like to work with. So if somebody's kind of, not like a little bit loose and doesn't really have this burning desire to do something or complete it, we're not really your kind of people. so
I also want to make people understand that just because you have made a decision that you want to work with women who are 50, let's just say, this is who you want to, and you're a coach, and this is what you've made a choice of. And then you look at your analytics and you go, okay, I'm attracting the right person. We're good. I've got my website. I'm speaking to that target. I'm good. I'm attracting them. That doesn't mean that if a 20-year-old comes to you and says, can you help me, that you have to say no. That's the piece I think that I laugh about when people are like, but, and I'm like, that's okay. You can still take them as a client. It just means that you're not targeting them specifically in everything that you're doing.
And don't make, rash judgments, because the truth is there's a lot of, younger and older than maybe your demographic that, are not the atypical of that demographic. And, they're working with you because you have the expertise, the knowledge, the skills that they need. Yep. And that's what they want. They don't want to work. I mean, if you have, especially on the younger ones, if you have, 19, 20, 21-year-old who is really aggressive and wants to get ahead and knows that they're not going to get it from another 20 or 25-year-old, they're going to have to find somebody that has the expertise and knowledge, then they've targeted you out to find that, right? So make sure that you understand that might be actually more of your target than you think, because as you get into older age groups and demographics, they don't need as much, right? They don't have the same burning desire to make that success. If you're doing, but if you're teaching, for example, stress management, generally speaking, it's the older crowd that's going to purchase your products, right? So again, you need to, it's a big holistic picture that you have to look at with, identifying, who you want, who you have, who you might want, and who your competitors have. You have to look at that whole picture and say, okay, where do I really want to fit into this? Where does it make sense? So again, we can't stress enough, understand who your existing audience is, right? So that you can understand how to move forward. And that will help you, again, if you're on stage or on events, because if you're starting to get how you need to kind of switch what you're saying and switch what you're teaching based on the demographic, you begin to reach more, and therefore your audience expands.
Well, that's the beauty of it, because when you do narrow that down and you find that that fit, and you're this is the audience that I want to work with, this is the audience that I'm attracting, and you know who that is, well then, where you go, global. Yeah. You can go all over the world and find similar people.
You have way more impact, like global impact everywhere. And that's the whole key, right? I mean, for most of us, we want to make a difference. We want to have an impact. That's the truth with almost everybody that I've ever spoken with. And impact is different for everyone. It might be a local impact, it might be a national, it might be global, but regardless which way you're looking, you want to make an impact. You cannot make an impact unless you understand some of the basic core messaging, one being your audience or your clients or your customers, and the two being where you want to go with that. So,
and once you know, and once you have them, so, the people who are following me are people who I want to attract, and it's all good. Well, then I can ask them questions.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. Then I can say, because sometimes we think, okay, well, I've got the who, but then, and we'll talk about this another time, but we've got the what. Yeah. But sometimes the what you want to do is not what the who wants.
No, it's true.
You also have to think about that piece too. And what does that look like? So we'll talk about that another time, but it really does understand this is who I want to work with. And what are their problems? What are their needs? Where are their struggles?
What are their goals? Yeah.
What are their goals? What do they want to achieve in life? Everything, so that you can solve that problem. But if you don't know who they are or what their problem is, it makes it very difficult to provide a product that solves a problem if you don't know what it is.
Yeah. And like you'll start getting, if you start asking the question, especially For a lot of people, I think one of the biggest questions I get is, well, I put out a landing page. I have excellent copywriting. It's a great funnel. Everything works and nobody's buying the product.
Yes.
And that's probably the biggest thing I get. So again, I look back and understand who is your audience, who are you targeting if you're doing ads, and is the message really, is it geared to them or not, right? Because sometimes you make a really pretty landing page with great copywriting, but it's not copywriting for your audience. And
well, it's interesting when the disconnect comes from the ad that you're targeting a certain demographic or interest based or whatever. So you do this ad, and I've faced this unfortunately many times.
So we all have.
with not with my own stuff, but just with client stuff that I've helped them with. And the ad is great. It's targeted well.
Yeah.
They're getting 1 million clicks on their ad because like it's exactly what they want to hear, the message. And then they go to the landing page and no one's clicking, no one's signing up, even if it's free.
Yeah.
So that's where you need to really understand how to talk to them, because again, you can have the best copywriting in the world.
Yeah,
but if it doesn't resonate with the person, it doesn't matter.
The biggest problem is usually they'll click into the opt-in, right? They'll get their lead magnet, but then you might have 400 people that opted in and not one bought the rest of the funnel, which is the paid. And so that's where you go, okay, what happened here? Right? Because I know like you can retarget from there. Obviously, but did you actually send out, like if it was me, if I got lead magnet that was downloaded for 500 people, the next email I would send out is a survey, right? I would send out a survey to understand why they didn't purchase. So, is there something you're looking for? Like what information, like start listing the questions, because sometimes you need to understand, is it price, right? If it's price, then you can fix that quickly, right?
Very quickly.
You know that not one person bought, it could actually be price. If you know that you've offered a discount, it's still not working, it's not price. So what is it? What is it that you're not conveying? Generally speaking, what you're not conveying is what's in it for me. What is that solution that makes that person's life easier, or that fixes their problem, or expands with their knowledge? You didn't hit it. Yeah. You didn't hit it. That's the truth.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? That's just so important, because that's going to be the difference really between a successful business and having impact. Because if you're not able to grow, right, because you're not speaking in the language that makes sense to them. Yeah.
So you have to go out there, understand your audience. I would start today with it. For those of you who have clients or customers, find out where they sit right now. Do your little spreadsheet. And then tomorrow, we're going to give you our favorites on how to understand the audience and what we use.
Yeah, to look, understand, and be able to know, and just, I guess, just to compare.
Yeah.
Again, just going back to, are the clients you're attracting the ones that you want to attract or not? And if they're not, then you can change, but you can't change what you don't know.
Right.
All right. Enjoy for everybody who's enjoying the holiday today. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday.
Yeah.
And we will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place.
Same bat channel.